Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of Area Planning Subcommittee West. My name is Councillor Dave Dorrell. I'll be your chairman this evening. My vice chairman will be Councillor Jean Lee, who will appear somewhere on your screen depending on your configuration. From Democratic Services aiding with the meeting, we have Vivian Messenger and Rebecca Perrin. And from the Planning Department, we have Graham Courtney and Andrew Marks. Webcasting introduction. This virtual meeting is to be webcast. Members are reminded of the need to unmute before speaking and muting afterwards. And members are also reminded to mute their phones. Also, I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet or filmed and will be capable of repeated viewing or another use by such third parties. Please could I also remind members of the public who have registered to speak that they will be admitted to the meeting at the appropriate time, which has already happened. Please also be aware that if technical difficulties interrupt the meeting that cannot be overcome, I may need to adjourn the meeting. Item 2, advice to public and speakers attending the council planning subcommittees can be found on pages 5 to 8 of your agenda. Item 3, apologies for absence.
We have apologies from Councillor Mitchell and Councillor Knight, and lateness or apologies from Councillor Bassett.
Thank you. Item 4, minutes can be of the last meeting on 2nd of December can be found on pages 9 to 12. Can I take those as approved?
Agreed.
Okay, various thumbs up around the room, so I'm taking those as approved. Welcome, Councillor Bassett. Item 5, declarations of interest. Not seeing any hands. Okay, moving on. Item 6, any other business?
No, Chairman.
Item 7, Epping Forest District Local Plan Submission Version Planning Policy Briefing Notes. That can be found in your agenda and there's a link there. That's a standing item. I don't propose to spend any more time on that. Site visits, as a note there, I'm assuming given the prominent location of the application tonight, nobody is asking for a site visit because you can easily see it from the road. Therefore, we come on to the main business of the evening. Item 9, planning application EPF 2814/20, 7 to 9 Sun Street.
Good evening, members. This application relates to relates to the erection of 5 new dwellings to the rear of 7 to 9 Sun Street. The application is recommended for refusal due to its design and impact on the character of the area. The application is here at committee since it was called in by Councillor Helen Kane. I'll just pause for a second here. We have received some late comments just a couple of days ago on this, so I'm just going to quickly read those out as they are not included in the report. So this is from the resident of Milton House. They state that my home, Milton House, is one of the few properties with windows looking onto the proposed development, and I am firmly of the opinion that the small amount of the proposed building which will be visible which will be visible will add character to what is at present a rather stark structure. In addition, I am chair of the Waltham Abbey Historic Society, and as a society we are frequently opposing applications where we believe they have a negative impact on the historic buildings and general heritage of this historic town. In this case, I believe there will be no negative impact. The proposed buildings will barely be visible from ground level, being shielded by what is there already. So the proposed development is located to the rear of the properties on Sun Street and will be built on top of the existing flat-roofed co-op building. As you are no doubt aware, the site is situated within the Waltham Abbey Conservation Area and is surrounded by a number of listed and locally listed buildings. The site, whilst located to the rear of Sun Street, is extremely visible from Quaker Lane and the public car park. The buildings in this location are backland service buildings that are historically of ancillary use to the main buildings on Sun Street. There's a clear hierarchy of scale, character, general appearance and detailing in these buildings. Whilst the Co-op building is of modern construction, it has nonetheless been designed to follow this approach. So as I say, the proposed application would make use of the existing roof area and would add an additional floor to the existing building. The development would provide 4 2-bed units and 1 1-bed unit to the site, which would be centred around a courtyard area. The proposal would introduce dormer windows and roof lights to the existing building and adds a second floor above this roof with half-submerged dormers and a further roof profile. Within the site, the development would have a more traditional 2-storey appearance. The choice of materials proposed include composite timber look cladding, mock lead finishing, and composite doors and windows. Access to the development would be shared with the existing flats in King Harold's Court, and the new residents would also share the existing bin and cycle store. It's worth noting this application is a resubmission of an identical scheme that was refused permission in September 2020 under delegated powers. This is the previous plans that are identical. In principle, there's no objection to a development within this location, which has been made clear at both pre-application stage and in the previous application. However, it is considered the design of this particular proposal is unacceptable. The Council's Conservation Officer has raised significant concerns, about the development being discordant in regards to the wider street scene and roof scope, about the overall mass of the proposal and the detrimental impact that results from the many dormer windows proposed. Also, the choice of materials proposed would be harmful to the historic significance of the conservation area. Overall, it's concluded that this particular scheme would result in the existing site that currently has a neutral impact on the character and appearance of the conservation area being visually dominant and harmful to the wider area. In addition, the Council's Urban Design Officer also commented that the architectural response of repeating the typology of the ground floor is illogical and does not create a coherent building form. In addition, concerns have been raised regarding the usability of the flats and the potential harm this would cause to future occupants due to constrained habitable rooms, along with constrained and impractical amenity space. I'm just going to pause here for a second and add, notwithstanding the officer's report and recommendation that's contained within the agenda, the proposed development has recently been assessed by the Council's Transport Planner, and it is concluded that the proposal would result in additional vehicle movements, and the evidence provided is not sufficient to justify otherwise. It should also be noted that the previous recently refused application was refused on the impacts of the Epping Forest Special Area of Conservation. Since there's currently no agreement in place to mitigate against this harm, or any official declaration of willingness to enter into an agreement, an additional reason for refusal regarding this is recommended. The wording of this reason for refusal is as follows, and I'll happily repeat this again if anyone would like me to. So the recommendation would be that due to the failure of declaration of willingness to enter into a Section 106 agreement for the mitigation against the adverse impact that the development would have on the Epping Forest Special Area of Conservation in terms of air pollution, the development is contrary to policy CP1 and CP6 of the Epping Forest Local Plan 1998 and alterations 2006, policies DM2 and DM22 of Epping Forest District Local Plan Submission Version 2017, the MPPF and the requirements of the Habitat Regulations 2017. So as previously stated, there's no objection in principle to a development on this site. However, this particular scheme is considered to be out of character and harmful to the surrounding area, including the conservation area and the setting of the nearby listed buildings. Furthermore, there's currently no agreement in place to mitigate against the adverse impact on the Epping Forest Special Area of Conservation. As such, the application is recommended for refusal. I now pass back to the Chair.
Thank you. We have one speaker this evening. That is the applicant's agent, Mr. Padalino. Mr. Padalino, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, members. Further to our submission of a pre-application to the Planning Department in April 2019, we waited nearly 15 months for a response to our revised scheme for the reduced design, which was discussed at the pre-application meeting. Our clients decided that we submit a planning application as they could not wait any longer to obtain the necessary feedback, which should have been far quicker. The scheme was reduced from 8 flats to 5 flats after taking on board comments at the pre-application meeting. We submitted the application in full with the various expert reports, which confirmed the valuable contribution to the scheme would make to this redundant airspace, which houses various redundant buildings above the Co-op building on Sun Street. The flat roof and the redundant buildings currently are in a poor condition, and this scheme will create 5 new build flats, which will enhance the space with a central courtyard, garden and soft landscaping, which create a visual improvement by the introduction of the green space. And it also provides much needed housing to the town centre and to help Epping Council's housing supply, which is currently being underachieved. The scheme cannot be seen from the street level and has no impact to the neighbouring properties. It is subservient to the listed buildings along Sun Street. You will see from the CGIs that were distributed images that this is a vast improvement and will add an interesting architectural styles taken from the local vernacular. The planning department did not communicate with us on the submitted scheme in view that they failed to deliver the pre-application response, and we were surprised to have received a refusal most recently. This submitted scheme will hopefully allow members to engage in a debate whereby they can view the scheme, and we hope they will favour the design presented this evening. I would also like to highlight, which has just been mentioned, comments made by the chair of the Waltham Abbey Historical Society, which has stated that whilst they have generally opposed planning applications, in this case, quotes, I am firmly of the opinion that the small amount of proposed buildings which will be visible will add character to what is at present a rather stark structure. I believe there will be no negative impact. The proposed buildings will barely be visible from the ground level, being shielded by what there already is, unquote. I therefore request that the committee look to support this planning application and vote to approve the scheme presented this evening. Many thanks.
Thank you. Over to members. Councillor Helen Kane.
Thank you, Chairman. I did call in this application. We had that through the Town Council, and in that subcommittee, we actually discussed it in really length, and we found that at the time, we found that it was suitable for the area. The construction is at the back. We all know very much, being the ward councillors, the site, and we know how it will look, the finished product will look. And we found that we actually all agreed unanimously that it was a good application and it should go through. We were surprised to find that it was for refusal, so I called it in, so we give all the members a chance to actually decide tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Plummer.
Right. Sorry, I'm using an iPad, which I don't normally, and the buttons are in different places. I don't really object to this. I don't think I'll make much of an impact on Sun Street. And to be honest, in these sort of matters, I defer to Chris Sumner, because he's much better qualified and experienced in these areas than I am, of the Waltham Abbey Historical Society. And if he hasn't got a problem with it, I haven't, frankly. Reparking and increased emissions. There's only for increased emissions. We just need to make sure that it's stipulated that these properties, these homes, aren't suitable for people who drive. They're not suitable for motorists. There aren't the facilities there for motorists. Just as if you need a two-bedroom flat, you're not going to buy a one-bedroom. If you need a parking space, don't use a flat without a parking space. You've just got to make that a stipulation. So this isn't suitable. There are public transport facilities and bicycle facilities right there. So yeah. I am concerned about the notes in here about one of the units being a bit pokey. One of the homes being a bit pokey. So I do have concerns about that. Nobody wants to live in a home that's too small. It's bad for physical health, mental health, and lots of things. So I don't know if there's anything we can do about that at this point. Probably not. So because of that one thing, I might have to abstain on this rather than approve it. But that is literally the only thing. So there you go. Yeah, in general, I'm supportive apart from that one issue about pokiness of mobile homes. Thank you.
Councillor Heather.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it's just seeking clarification. On page 22, on the second paragraph down, it says, since the proposal is not a new build, are these a new build or are they a conversion? Somebody could answer that one.
The application is a new build. I mean, it is partially utilising the existing roof space, but it certainly would be a new build on top of that. So, I'm just trying to find the paragraph you're referring to on my.
Yeah, so the second paragraph, page 22, it says, since the proposal is not a new build, so the sanitary facilities don't enter into it.
Apologies,
So I take it.
Sorry, apologies. I'm just trying to find. I didn't have the full report pack, so I didn't know which page 22 was. Okay, here we go. Apologies for that. No, the reference there is because the access is already there serving the King Harold Court, so it's utilising the existing access that is already there serving existing flats, and because of that, that's what that reference is.
So that's not a problem then, right? And then my second thing was you mentioned the special area of conservation on page 23. It says that it lies more than 3 kilometres from the SAC, so therefore the SAC doesn't apply. And yet you've mentioned in your briefing that it did.
The 3 kilometres zone is relevant to recreational pressure. It does lie beyond the 3 kilometres, so there would be no requirement for any contributions towards mitigating recreational pressure. The report talks about there being no additional vehicle movements, but as I say, this unfortunately has been re-looked at, and it's not considered there is justification for that. There is, albeit it is restricted parking around there. I'm sure most of you know that there are parking restrictions within Waltham Abbey. Obviously, there is the ability to park in the car parks after, I think, 6 o'clock. There's also the ability to pay for parking provision similar to residential parking. Therefore, we couldn't say with any certainty that these flats wouldn't provide parking. It's essentially what we're saying is if it is recommended for approval, it would be subject to mitigation, which would be likely the financial contribution as per the air quality mitigation strategy. So that's all we're saying. It's just it wasn't in there, but it should be in there.
Thank you.
Okay, there's quite a few hands up. So Councillor Leppert first, and then it will be Councillor Sartin and Councillor Avey.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Yeah, reading the notes, looking at the previous application, it seems to have been refused largely due to visibility, in excess of visibility, and it being a little bit out of keeping with the general look of the area. And now we're seeing perhaps it's been mitigated a lot by the reduced size, but I still need some persuading that the general look and the design and materials used are still in keeping with the area. But in general, I'm erring towards supporting it. I mean, if the chairman of, as Councillor Plummer said, the chairwoman of the local historical society doesn't seem to have a problem with it, they've done well to get her in their corner, and it's hard to argue against that, isn't it? So, but I'll listen to the debate and decide then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sartin.
Thank you, Chairman. I think Councillor Lee was showing her visual hand before I put my hand up. So do you want to go to her first, because she can't raise her virtual hand?
Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Mary. No, I don't know how to work that. Well, I would actually support this application. I'm a local person, lived here since I was 5, which is a long time. And the other flats that have been done actually do enhance the area. And it is very dull round behind the co-op there, and I actually think it will look much nicer. They're desperate for some homes, and Councillor Plummer saying one's a little bit pokey. We have couples with babies living in one room, and I'm sure a little pokey flat, they would jump at the chance. Also, you mentioned about the park. I've always been told when I've asked about parking, town centre developments don't have to supply parking, a government thing. Now, I've either been being told wrong all this time or something's changed. Yes, as far as I'm concerned, if you're looking for somewhere to live, if there is no parking facilities, you would go and look somewhere else. We desperately need some places. This application looks a very good application, and being a local person living here and having to, when I do my walks around, see it all the time, plus the historical officer having no objections at all. So I will be supporting this, not refusing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sarti.
Thank you, Chairman. I got a little bit confused about the timeline between the previous application and the current application, and just also a bit about the changes. Has the actual outer appearance of the building stayed the same, or has it been reduced in volume as well, or is it just internally that changes have been made? But if, as I say, around the timeline as to the agent referred to meetings, pre-meetings, and I just wondered if we could get a bit more clarification on that.
Yes, of course. There's been no change between this and the previously refused application earlier this year. I was going to say last year, technically end of last year. This is an identical scheme to that was refused. What the agent was referring to was the changes made after the pre-app. Following a pre-app, there was a pre-application submission on this. There was obviously discussion on that. At that point, it was reduced down from 8 flats to 5 flats and submitted as a plan application, which was the previous application, which was refused. And then this application is the same as the previous.
Councillor Avey.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I just to say that whenever I look at these kind of applications, especially out of my area being Epping, I always listen to local views first. And it seems to me overwhelming. The Town Council didn't object. The Historical Society supports. I hear local councillors on this committee supporting opposition to rejection. So I'll be following their lead, and I think the scheme looks fine. Thank you.
Councillor Sam Kane.
Thank you, Chair. If this were a new proposal being presented with a flat roof within the conservation area, it would almost certainly be rejected, and they would be calling for a pitched roof to be put on the building. Here we have the opportunity to go ahead with the development that will remove what is an ugly flat roof in the on the townscape and replace it with a much more attractive skyline, which does fit in with the character of the town. And as others have said, I'm more than happy to defer to the eminent knowledge of the chairman of the Historic Society, who has dozens of years of experience in this area. To my eyes, it looks like a good application. These will make excellent starter homes for youngsters starting out, get them on the ladder. I will not be supporting the recommendation of rejecting, and I will be calling for it to be approved and thus go towards DDMC. Thank you.
Before I make my own comments, are there any more members wishing to speak? Councillor Stocker.
Yeah, I agree with what's been said. It would make it an improvement. The only thing that does outweigh me now, or it might be that when it goes forward, is the material being used. That's my only problem with it.
Any other members? Okay. Like several other Waltham Abbey councillors, I think this in many ways would be an improvement. However, the conservation officer is fairly unequivocal in that it is going to be excessive scale and bulk. I also was going to make the same point as Councillor Stocker. Those concerns around the proposed materials, I think we should take that into account. It did make me laugh in the report that it says there are good local bus services that connect to many towns nearby. I'm not sure any Waltham Abbey residents would characterise us as having good bus services, so I'm not sure that rides. And I think, while I agree with Councillor Plummer that you could stipulate that people don't use a car, the reality of the situation is that Waltham Abbey town centre is largely service based. There's not a lot of retail there. I think you would struggle to get all your weekly needs unless you fancy trundling back from Tesco with half a dozen bags of shopping, which is not a long walk, but not a particularly short one when you're loaded either. I have my doubts that you would be able to not have a car in many cases. And finally, the comments about the SAC. Obviously, with everything that's going on around the SAC at the moment, I think we need to pay attention when the council says, the planning department says that there are concerns over the SAC. So I think it's a balanced point, but on the whole, I will be supporting the recommendation by officers. Okay, are there any further comments? Okay, in that case, we will proceed to the vote. The recommendation is to refuse permission, and over to Rebecca to organise the vote.
Can I have Councillor Avey? Are you for, against, or abstaining?
Against refusal.
Councillor Bassett?
Councillor Bassett, against.
Councillor Heather?
Councillor Heather, against refusal.
Councillor H. Kane?
Councillor Helen Kane, against refusal.
Thank you. Councillor S. Kane?
Councillor Sam Kane, against.
Councillor Leppard?
On mute.
Get that?
Not yet.
Oh.
Councillor Leppard, yeah. No, you've just muted yourself again.
Sorry.
No.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm against refusal.
Okay. Councillor Plummer?
Councillor Plummer, against refusal, albeit with a couple of tribulations, but yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Sartin?
Councillor Sartin, abstain.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stocker?
Councillor Stocker, on the grounds of the material, refuse.
Sorry, can I just confirm? Is that the recommendation is to refuse? So,
refuse, yeah.
So you'd like to so that's
yeah,
for the decision,
review.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. Councillor Lee?
Councillor Lee.
Against refusal? Yes. And Councillor Dorrell?
Councillor Dorrell votes for refusal.
Okay, that is 2 for, 8 against, and 1 abstention.
Okay.
Sorry, so the motion is has fallen.
Okay, therefore the recommendation to refuse has not been passed. Would anybody like to propose a motion to approve? Councillor Sam Kane.
Yeah, I'd like to propose a motion that we do approve this application with an additional condition looking at the S106 consideration for the SAC.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Helen Kane. Okay, I think Mr. Courtney's about to say what I was about to say. Mr. Courtney.
Oh, apologies. You may be. I was merely going to point out that we obviously aren't able to deal with the SAC mitigation by way of conditions. It would be a legal agreement for that.
Okay. Important to point out here that we can't approve, I believe, this application at this level because it's contrary to policy. It would be required to go up to DDMC. I think I'm right in saying that, am I, Mr. Courtney?
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, the reason for refusal is on design grounds. You're perfectly, as members, you're perfectly within your rights to disagree with the opinions of the planning officers in terms of design grounds. The only thing we wouldn't be able to issue a decision until the Section 106 has been agreed, subject to SAC. But no, there's no reason this would have to go to DDMC if you choose to approve it.
Okay. In that, oh, sorry, Councillor Sartin, did you wish to?
No, I was just going to say that if it is going forward through this committee, then we do need to put together a number of conditions relating to this application, and I think probably members need to put those forward.
Mr. Marks, did you wish to speak?
Thank you, Chair. So in the background, I've been scribbling away with some suggested conditions. Obviously, I don't want to interfere in the debate, but the ones that I will be suggesting are sort of the more technical ones. So please let me know when you want me to come in on those.
Okay. Does anybody wish to suggest any particular conditions then?
If I may, Chairman, I think an important one will be hours of work, being as there is a busy car park next door to the site and it's on top of a busy supermarket. So we'll need to be careful there, and whatever conditions we can put on delivery times as well.
Councillor Sartin, is your hand still up?
It was still up, but I was going to put it up again. One of the things that was raised, and it's usually a fairly standard condition, was around agreement with materials before any building work commences.
Yeah, I was going to suggest the same. I agree with that one. Any other specific conditions from members? No. Mr. Marks, do you want to add anything else, or are you just going to add some standard conditions as well?
Thanks, Councillor. Hopefully members can agree to just delegate the specific wording, but obviously the Section 106 agreement in terms of our air mitigation strategy will just be a modest financial contribution. So the amount in the Waltham Abbey area is £335 per dwelling. It's literally situated about 3 meters outside of the 3 kilometer zone for recreational pressure, so that's not relevant. We do need a standard condition about starting construction works within 3 years to comply with the legislation. We need a standard condition that requires compliance with the drawings, but obviously we will supplement that with an additional condition for submission and approval of materials. Then the hours of construction can be rolled into a standard condition that we have that requires a construction management plan to be submitted to us, which will look at delivery times, hours of construction, and so forth. We also have a standalone hours of construction condition that we can put on there. I would suggest a condition that requires the provision of the cycle and refuse storage areas before occupation of the building. Also, the provision and retention of the courtyard area for residents before occupation, and then the provision of a travel pack. We've got a standard condition relating to that as well, to support sustainable travel arrangements, and then the landscaping to be provided and retained. We've also had a comment from colleagues that wanted to see details of surface water drainage to be submitted before construction work start. And then we've got a standard land contamination condition as well, which is not this two-stage one, but it is a condition suggested by colleagues that if any contaminated land is found during construction works, that they contact the council. So we've got a standard condition for that as well, and it is actually that comment is published on our website.
Okay.
I think that's everything.
Councillor Helen Kane.
Yes, I'm a little bit baffled. If it is something that it is built on a top, what kind of contamination we are actually looking at? There will be no digging for any, bases. But I don't understand this at all. Unless it is something that it is put for every time. I don't know. But I need an explanation on that.
Yeah, well, I assume there will be some digging being done for the courtyard and the landscaping. So that's probably the areas.
What kind of digging could it be done if it is actually built on the top of a flat roof? I don't understand that at all.
I'll come in. Yeah, I must admit, Andrew, even the courtyard and landscaping is located on the upper stories above the flat roof. I suppose the only concern would be if there is any need for any sort of underpinning, assumedly. The condition that Andrew is suggesting is purely if any contamination is found during construction, then it would have to be dealt with. Obviously, if there is no contamination found, then there is nothing to submit for that application. But I understand your confusion. It is unusual. It would be unusual to put that on, but I believe that's a condition that's been suggested by the contaminated land consultants rather than the planning officer.
Will it be any delays because of that, though? Graham, please tell us.
Yeah, so the condition that is suggested just says that it's not this two-stage one where there needs to be an investigation. The suggested wording is just should any discolored or odorous source be encountered during development works, or should any hazardous materials or significant quantities of non-soil forming materials be found in all development works, should be stopped and the local planning authority contacted and a scheme to investigate the risks and or adoption of any required remedial measures should then be submitted. So it's if anything is uncovered during construction, but like I say, that's the advice from our contaminated land expert, but obviously it's for members to decide whether they want to apply that.
Okay, so one could say that it's a conditional condition.
Yes, I agree with that, but I don't agree on the condition when something is actually built on the top of a building and not being disturbed at the land, at the basis.
Councillor Samke.
Whilst I accept that the condition is likely to be found a material matter, I can't see the reason we would put it in. If we're building on a roof, where does the soil come in? I can't see why we would want to put that condition in, but it is members' choice, so it's up to members to decide if it goes in or not.
Councillor Lee.
Well, I would rather it didn't go in then. It doesn't make sense to me. The courtyard, I've been round and looked at the development that's finished, which I think is really nice. And the courtyard is sharing with this new development. They're all next door to each other. And I just feel like, although we're desperate for homes, we've been told, I just feel like, well, whether it's our planning officers or not, I don't know, because I only know a couple now. They disappear. It just seems to me that everything is being done to try and stop everything being done. If I was homeless, I'd be crying if I was listening to this, all these things being put up to try and stop it. I don't understand it at all.
Chairman, would you like the committee to vote on that particular condition, and then you can vote on it as a whole afterwards?
I can see I suppose we have to do it for visibility purposes. I was going to say, because I can see the whole committee, so some sort of indication would be nice. But we can go make it a vote if you wish. Okay, I'm not seeing any more hands, so
I'll second your motion, Chairman.
The motion to put it to the vote?
Yes.
Okay, therefore, we are going to firstly have a vote as to whether a condition on contamination is required. Rebecca?
Okay, just for that one condition, Councillor Avey, are you for or against or abstain?
Against the condition.
Councillor Bassett?
Against the condition.
Councillor Heather?
Against the condition.
Thank you. Councillor Helen Kane?
Helen Kane, against the condition.
Thank you. Councillor S. Kane, Sam Kane.
Councillor Sam Kane, against the condition.
Councillor Leppard?
Against the condition.
Councillor Plummer?
Councillor Plummer, against the condition.
Councillor Sartin?
Against the condition. Councillor Sartin, against the condition.
Thank you. Councillor Stocker?
Against the condition.
Councillor Lee?
Councillor Lee, against the decision.
Thank you. And Councillor Dorrell?
I'm going to swim against the tide, and I'm going to say I'm for the condition, as I don't think it makes any material difference if nothing is found.
Thank you. That is 10 against and 1 for. So it would not carry.
Okay. Therefore, that condition is not included. Any other comments from members or questions before we put the motion to the vote? Not. Oh, Councillor Heather.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just on about the landscaping bit as well. This is all on a raised flat roof. So what are we talking about? Planters and things like that. Is that landscaping?
Let's have a look. We have there was a landscape design concept submitted as part of the application. And there is a fair amount of landscaping being proposed within the area. It doesn't appear that they will be in planters, but obviously it will be on top of a roof, so it will be a contained area of landscape, contained planting. But there has been, as I say, a landscape design concept submitted as part of the application.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, members? Okay. Therefore, we have a motion to approve the application, subject to all of the conditions that have been discussed, bar the one that we explicitly voted against. Over to Rebecca for another vote.
Thank you. Councillor Avey?
For the motion.
Councillor Bassett?
For.
Councillor Heather?
Councillor Heather, for the motion.
Councillor Helen Kane?
Councillor Helen Kane, for the motion.
Councillor Sam Kane?
Councillor Sam Kane, for the motion.
Councillor Leppard?
Councillor Leppard, for the motion.
Councillor Plummer?
Councillor Plummer, for the motion.
Councillor Sartin?
Councillor Sartin, for the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Stocker?
Councillor Stocker, for the motion.
Councillor Lee?
Councillor Lee, for the motion.
And Councillor Dorrell?
Councillor Dorrell, against the motion.
Thank you. So that is 10 for and 1 against.
Okay, therefore the application is approved. Moving back to the main agenda. Bear with me. Item 10, exclusion of public and press.
There is none, Chair.
Item 11 is irrelevant under these circumstances. Therefore, thank you for your time, people. And I will close the meeting at 7:45.